What's up, everybody? I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the 2023 Honda Pilot. So for 2023, the Pilot is all new. It's a brand new generation of it, and it's grown a good bit. It's longer, it's wider, it's taller, and this one, being the Trail Sport, is also higher off the ground for this off-road thing this one's doing. But anyway, as far as all Pilots in general, it gets the new Honda design language, some of the new Honda components you've seen in some of the other models they've come out with in the past few years. Overall, it's nice in here, but there are a few key features that are missing, and the value is a little iffy as far as some of those upper trims. But I mean, what do you think about it? I think it's pretty nice in here, right?
Yeah, it's nice, but there's definitely, some plastic areas and not a lot of like wow factor to it. Not terrible, but for the price you're paying, I feel like I would want a nicer interior. Yeah,
but this one, by the way, is $50,135 as tested. Anyway, though, getting into the different components here, first off, the seats are redesigned and more comfortable here, and they're also more supportive for this new Pilot, and they're really great. I mean, we've been driving this vehicle 110 miles here, and I have no complaints with the comfort here. You have all the usual adjustments here for lumbar and height and all that, and so driver's seat's really great.
But for the passenger, you do not have your height adjustments. I think it's fine. It's not anything that has been bothersome to me at all, but you do have the power controls for forward and back and your tilt.
And you also have heated seats here in this Trail Sport version. If you go up to the Elite trim, that's the only way you can get ventilated seats up front here, and so that's a little bit of a bummer because some of the lower trims and some of the other competitors do give you cooled seats still, or it's an option, whereas with this you got to spend 53 grand if you want cooled seats, so a little bit of a bummer there. But moving on to the steering wheel, one nice thing is the Trail Sport here does have a heated steering wheel, which is great because that's something that some other companies reserve for their top trim, so great that's even on these lower Trail Sport versions. But it's a really great wheel, has a great 9.3 grip, nice little 10 and 2 notches, just a few buttons here on it, and just really nicely done. The gauges here in the Pilot are also a little underwhelming for this Trail Sport version. Only the Elite gets fully digital gauges, and it's also only a 10-inch screen even in the Elite. This one here, you have a partially digital thing with an analog speedometer. It still works fine. You still have a good bit of customization there on the left-hand side, and I really like the way their gauges are set up. It's just the wow factor just isn't there compared to a Telluride or a Palisade or some of the others even this competes with these days that have, a huge screen for the gauges, a huge screen for the touchscreen. So that's the only thing here that's not great about these gauges, but otherwise they're really nice. You do also have a head-up display in the Elite. You don't get that here in the Trail Sport version though. But coming over to the center of the dashboard here, this is another area that it looks a little odd, honestly, for 2023. We have a 9-inch touchscreen. Not bad, but again, you have these massive screens and all the other competitors we've been reviewing in the past, year or two here. And so, I mean, it's fine, and if you don't need to have the biggest screen possible, it's fine. That's about the best I can say.
It's a screen, but it's not. It's definitely, once again, not a wow factor. The volume knob, and there's not a tune knob, but the volume knob is all the way on the driver's side, which is always a great for me, being a passenger. And there's also the tune rocker that is also right next to the driver, and the driver has all of those controls on their steering wheel. So I just don't love that that's always super driver centric. There's definitely space, I'm sure, that could have been fit right underneath or on the other side, or at least something that's just a little bit more passenger friendly. I would enjoy that.
Yeah, and also you do have wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, which is one thing you don't get, for example, in the Hyundai and the Kia. They don't have the wireless smartphone integration, but everything else works really well. You have the smart shortcuts, which is cool, where it can kind of give you suggestions of how it learns your usage of the infotainment system over time. And all the tiles for the Honda system are really well done, and you can customize all of them. Very easy to tune radio stations. Everything is really well done in the Honda system, so it's really good. It's just they need to make a bigger screen in these, and they have a bigger screen in the Accord. The brand new Accord gets better tech than this does. That has a 12-inch screen. I'm assuming they'll put that in maybe next year or in a refresh for this to remedy the lack of screen real estate here. Coming down, you have your typical climate controls here, and they have a nice little click to them whenever you use them. They're a little wiggly though, so it's still not top-notch build quality. I think Mazda and a couple of others do a little bit better with build quality, but still really nice, like how the knobs are backlit and they're metal. There are some really nice touches here, although I gotta say the piano black kind of doesn't look great already, a little dusty.
Yeah, dusty, there's hairs, there's scratches, so, you know.
Yeah, but you do have a little bit more piano black around the shifter and the doors, but it's not a ton. It's not as bad as like Kia does a lot, and some others do too.
Yeah, it's definitely not something that is like a deal breaker, but I don't love it. I also just feel like there's totally so much room for so many more textiles in here that would look so nice and would really just freshen up this space and make it a little bit more exciting.
Yeah, that is true, because like the Telluride has some nice wood. Some of the others have, anything other than piano black plastic.
Yeah, it's piano black plastic, plus everything here is just like definitely not wowing me, and I'm surprised because this is a new version.
Even like one other funny little observation is like the Honda HR-V, their smallest little crossover, has padding down by your knees. $25,000, you get padding down by your knees. $50,000 here in at least this Trail Sport. I don't think the Elite has it either. You have hard plastic down by your knees here. Like, why is a Honda that's double the price have a less plush interior than the HR-V does? Like, it blows my mind, the choices they made here with some of this stuff. So, you know, they can do plush interiors, they just chose not to. I'd love to know why, but you know, it's just one of those things you have to figure out for yourself whether that's going to be a deal breaker or not. But it's not the most plush in here for sure. Moving on to storage spaces though, here in the Pilot, they do a really good job. Obviously it's a 3-row crossover. You expect it to have all kinds of bins and cup holders and cubbies, and it has plenty of all that stuff. So first off in the doors, you have like, you know, 3 levels of pockets really, and you have a big bottle holder here in the mid-level part. And the unfortunate thing though is the way that bumps out, it bumps out at the worst place. I've banged my knee on here 3 times getting out of here. I don't love that. And even on the passenger side, I hopped over there to mount the camera, and then getting out, I also banged my other knee on that little cup holder there. So I don't love the placement of that, if I'm honest. But otherwise, in the middle, you have this little extra cubby for something, as well as a wireless charging pad, and a lot of extra space for the cup holders and all that. There's a nice center armrest, and you have a deep bin there. And so overall, you know, really good as far as all that goes up front here.
And also there is this little passenger side cubby here, which is pretty nice. You can put your old-fashioned maps in here and, you know, you're good to go.
The back seat in the Pilot here is also really nicely improved, so that's where you get some of the biggest benefits for this extra length in the Pilot. So you have about 2.5 inches of extra rear legroom there for the second row, and I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself. Obviously I have plenty of space, and now even more than the old Pilot. You also have captain's chairs here in the Trail Sport, and you can also get the captain's chairs in the EXL, but all the other trims have this interesting 7/8-seater configuration where they all get a bench in the middle row there, but the middle part of that bench can be removed. This is something they did the same thing in the new Acura MDX, where you can pull that middle seat out. It's about 30 pounds, so it's not super light, but you can yank that out and throw it in the trunk, and then you have 7 seats or 8 seats on demand, you know, whatever you want. So it's kind of cool, because a lot of others you have to pick and choose, and you know, they force you into captain's chairs in the higher trim, so you can't get an 8-seater with all the luxury stuff. With this, you can get the top Elite and still seat 8 people, and so that's a really unique, you know, positioning here for the Pilot, and a really nice thing they offer. And but you know, they're comfortable seats here. The Trail Sport, there's no heating or anything, but they are heated in the Elite trim. But again, there's no cooled seats in any Pilot, unfortunately, so it is going to be behind the Palisade, the Telluride. The Grand Highlander is going to have cooled seats, and I think there's a few others, the CX-90 and a few others that offer that as well. So definitely not as plush for that second row. If you care about that, you know, you're going to have better luck, you know, getting that in some of those other competitors. But they do have their own climate controls back there, air vents, all that kind of stuff. And there's also window shades there. There's pockets in those doors, multiple pockets, and a nice little walk through there in the middle if you don't want to use, you know, the buttons there to get into the third row. But getting into that third row, that's one thing I love about the Pilot. A few others have copied it since. The Pilot was the first in the last generation, but now the Telluride and the Palisade also have these buttons. But the buttons on the Honda, you can see there's one on the lower part of the seat and on the upper part. You press that and the whole seat slings forward. Very easy for kids to do. You don't need to use a bunch of muscle like some of the other competitors where you have to, you know, yank a seat back. This, it's all automatic. Very easy to hop in there for kids. And then whenever you get in there, the third row is really nice and spacious. They added over a ½ an inch of extra legroom there as well. And me being, again, 5'9", sitting behind myself, even with that second row pushed all the way back, I still have clearance with my knees, so my knees are not rubbing up against the seat. And in most of the others, even in a Telluride or a Palisade, my knees are up up against the seat back. But in this, they're not. So I would say this is the most spacious that I've encountered so far. The Grand Highlander may beat it. We'll have to see whenever I review that. In the meantime, this is one of the best in the midsize SUV segment. I think Honda actually claims it is the most spacious third row in this segment for now. And so really great. And then of course, if you do want to slide up that second row seat, then you can have, you know, inches and inches of legroom there for your knees. So lots of space, good amount of headroom as well. There's also USB jacks back there, bottle holders, air vents, all that. And so really well done as far as a third row. And like I said, I think it's basically the best as far as 3 rows go as of us filming this here in April of 2023. It's always changing, but as of right now, it's the best for sure. And then the cargo space is also improved. You get about 4 cubic feet more space in the cargo area there than you had in the previous Pilot, and so it's really good. The previous Pilot was pretty good as well, but now you have you know, just even more space there as far as the length goes. I think it's a little bit more, and still nice and wide. And there's also in the floor there's a nice big deep bin, and it's got a lot of usable space. Some others in this segment, they'll try and divide it up with little cubbies and stuff. This is just like one big extra space. You could fit a nice large duffel bag under the floor there or something. Really well done. And also one cool little thing is that a cargo cover there, you can flip it over. So it's carpeted on one side, but then it's rubber on the other. So if you're going to get it really dirty, flip it over, and then it's much easier to clean out than if you have the carpeting there. Really cool little creative touch there. But anyway, that's all of our thoughts here on the interior of the 2023 Pilot. Overall, it's still, you know, pretty nice in some areas. It's just lacking the wow factor, like we mentioned, lacking some of those key features, not having cooled second row seats. The Palisade even has a third row that's heated. There's no such thing in this, you know. So I mean, if you want the most plush thing, the Pilot is not it. It just is lacking on features and on the amount of stuff you get per dollar, you know, because a loaded Elite, 53 grand, you can spend, you know, $2 grand less for a top Palisade and have all that stuff I just talked about. Even they have massaging seats in the Palisade. For the amount of money you're paying, you get less in this than you get in those, but you have more space in this. So it's really going to just come down to what you value, what you can live with, what you can live without, as far as whether this fits what you're looking for. But just from a stuff you get for dollars standpoint, this just comes up a little short, unfortunately, but still really nice otherwise. And so anyway, that's all of our thoughts. Let us know your thoughts on the Pilot in the comments below. Huge thanks to Honda for providing us here with this vehicle, and be sure to also check out the driving review for all the thoughts on how this drives, what the fuel economy is like, and you know, all of the thoughts on that. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.